It's a constant treadmill, sort of, or I feel like I'm constantly on a treadmill, just being, Black and successful. And I say that in sort of the conventional depiction that we see of success. And it's sort of like this tug. On one hand, it's like I'm sprinting forward full speed because it's like I've got, this education, or I've got this access, I've got, this sort of like in or first, few steps into like the career world or the career ladder, but you can't let up.
It's exhausting being Black.
Nowadays there is no guarantee I'll make it home, 'cause the value of my life is slim to none. The color of my skin scares the men who wear a band, and they'll gun me down if they pull out my thread. Nowadays the content of my character can't speak, no, before they spill my blood out in the street. And as it flows, they make me into what they taught to think, that I'm a thug and drug dealing machine. Nowadays,
Being Black in America is kind of like going to work every day and not being able to receive your paycheck. It's like, since the history of us coming to this country, or being brought to this country rather, we've worked for free, or we worked to stay alive. And they say, oh, well, you got paid. Or we got fed the things that they didn't eat or wouldn't eat. We got sheltered in completely different living quarters than where they rested. They were hot, they were dirty. So, we put the brunt of the country on our back, built it from the ground up, and still get looked at as if we don't belong here. And are oftentimes told, you don't belong here. Go back to where you came from.
go back to Africa.
They tell you go back to Africa.
Telling someone to go back to some other country that their ancestors may have been from is one of the silliest things that I hear. Like, because first of all, I am indigenous. I was born here. Just like the white man around the corner, I am indigenous. If I go back to Africa, then you have to go back to Poland, to Switzerland, to wherever part in Europe, Netherlands, wherever you are, then we all got to go back, and I also didn't choose to be here. I was brought here in the womb of my ancestors. I was brought here. Their family, on the other hand, came here, destroyed the land, and then made it uncomfortable for everybody else to live. So when someone says go back, it's like, well, I've never been to Africa, so I can't go back to it. It just doesn't make any sense.
Nigga, 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 I hate you, nigga.
Yes, the fuck it does still exist. I deal with the craziest stuff. I know racism still exists. A guy at my job took my hand, got a black Sharpie marker, marked on my hand, and asked me, damn, I can't believe this shows on your skin. Like, I know racism still exists. It's here and alive.
I've seen everything from, white kids rolling up to school with Confederate flags on the back of their truck, to down here I've gotten death threats just walking through the street, up to, coming to work. Kind of, I've seen both sides of the spectrum, and neither one of them are pretty.
Have you experienced it or witnessed it for yourself?
Personally, just because, you know, I'm white, I've never been really, I've never had anybody be racist towards me. I've had, you know, hatred because of my sexual orientation, but racism, no. And do I ever see it? To be completely honest, I've never really witnessed just a full blatant act of racism, because I would feel inclined to step in and say something, you know, especially in the environment that we're living in today.
I absolutely believe racism still exists. I think that we're an inherently racist system that we've created in this country, and I think we have to deal with that and be aware of that as we continue to have conversations, particularly in the current political climate. To be aware of our failings will allow us to move forward, and if we pretend like they aren't there, then we'll never be able to have an honest conversation.
You don't want to see that cow lip right there? All right, I got you.
That's enough.
Okay, we're gonna clean it up. For sure, man. Yeah, just applying for jobs and stuff like that. A lot of times, it's like you'll apply for a position, and because your name, regardless of your qualifications, I got turned down for a name. The lady was turned off completely by my name. Even in the interview, I could see it in her face, like, oh yeah, like, you're not getting hired. Thanks for coming, like. And it was just like totally different, because it was a dude named James, white guy. He got the job. Talked to him right in the parking lot right afterwards. Yo, she was so pleasant. I was like, dang, she didn't even like me. And it was totally different. So I know, like, you know what I'm saying? It's just been instances where you can just tell.
Racism is definitely a thing. Disenfranchisement is definitely a thing. And I'm just boggled by, like, we're all human beings. Like, every single one of us is a human being. We're all the same human being, all made by the same creator. And I'm just boggled by any human being that has convinced themselves of a system that exists where they should deserve more than other human beings, or that a system that tells them they should be responsible for how the lives of other human beings are run. I think that is just mind-boggling.
Yeah, racism is an everyday occurrence. It's small things like, will you listen to me? Small things like, will you if we cross paths at the same time, who apologizes? Right. Who defers? You know, like we both might have almost ran into each other at the same time, but would you be the one to apologize? Mm-hmm. You know, it's like inherently thinking like, okay, let me clean this up and not make a big issue of it, just because, again, racism is based upon somebody being superior. Mm-hmm. Right? So I would be the person to apologize. So it's just little things that in everyday interaction, you think about it, it comes into play. So there's like, you can never tell me that racism doesn't exist. People just choose to avoid the signs because it's such a serious, it's so ingrained in who we are.
And you see that in the school system, where you have a disproportionate amount of black and brown youth that are being suspended, that are being considered for special education and different things like this. So this is a systematic plan where they look at the reading scores of black youth, and they're able to determine by the time they in the third grade, if they're not reading on grade level, that there's a 75% chance that they will end up in jail. And what they do is they use these jails and they use these numbers and they build these prisons. So this is all cumulated around racism.
In history class, we were talking about Emmett Till. And I remember discussing Emmett Till and me being one of the only brown people in the classroom and sitting in a classroom with a bunch of white kids, and all the white kids turned and looked at me and one other girl who was also African American. That is when I saw the division. That is when I saw the line in between these two different groups of people. And that is when I saw racism and race being a huge factor in my life. It would continue to be a huge factor in my life, and it would be impossible for me to never address it and to never understand it.
As a black woman, especially who works in corporate America, I mean, I see the looks,
I get the attitudes, and a lot of times I have to go above and beyond to do my job just because I'm a black woman. So I have all these stereotypes meeting me at the door. I'm black, so I automatically have an attitude. I must be ghetto. My name can't be Nicole. So, just crazy stuff like that. And then after you're done helping these people or you're assisting them, they're like, wow, you really know what you're doing. Like, they're surprised. And then when you tell them you went to college, they're even more shocked.
Have you experienced racism for yourself?
I have. The very first time that I'm aware of was when I was 13. I was riding my bike and I was run off the road by someone who used the N-word, screaming at me. And there were flags on his car. There were stickers, and I didn't know what they were. And I asked my dad, and I described them to him, and he said those are Confederate flags. And he explained what they were. So it was scary, but more than anything, it was very disheartening.
I can't breathe. Your silence is suffocating me. My stomach aches from all the lies you feed. All the lies you feed. All the lies you feed. Speak up. Speak up. Speak up, dear America. Speak up, dear America. Speak up. Speak up. I can't breathe.
I go for it like it's 4 for sure, then my tailback's the best. Label me a risk taker, although I feel that success. I got beads, a sweat trickling down my physique. On the quest to get chubby, can't live out my life petite. I hold the folk, damn, call it folk. Tell that death is coming for dishonor, so I hold my folks. Damn, you could trace my roots back to the Zope, man. Connection so hereditary, don't ever dare me to put cause in it.